The system is rigged. That's it. That's the end of the video. The system's rigged. I have to tell you this because it's in my heart to share this with you, because I don't want the same thing to happen to you. And unfortunately, I know it's happened to millions of people, and absolutely in the United States, this is going on. I mean, this is absolutely horrible. The system is absolutely rigged against the American citizens. Sincerely, I'm going to explain why. So by the end of this video, I hope that you have a better understanding of how the system is rigged, what we could do about it, because I'm not just the person that wants to sit in a complaint. If you've been watching my videos at all, you know that I've talked a lot about narcissists. Why people say, oh, that's not high vibe. Why does she keep talking about narcissists? Blah, 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 blah. I talk about it because it hurts people. And I'm really beginning to see how it all connects together. It really does. The homeless problem, the reason why so many people go without, the reason why the top are getting richer. I don't know what you want to call them. I'll probably get censored if I say certain names. We've figured out the technology to censor citizens, but we haven't figured out the technology to help citizens. So that's one reason why the system is rigged. I'm going to share a very personal story, and please let me know if you can relate. I hope you can't. I hope you never can, but I know a lot of people can. And unfortunately, some people won't even want to speak up about this because that's how much the system is rigged, right? Like, we can't even, as Americans, we're not even allowed anymore to freely talk or ask questions. It's getting weird. It's getting really weird. I'm Leah. I'm an acting teacher. I've run a business for 11 years now. So I'm an entrepreneur. I was raised by my mom and dad with really good work ethic. My dad just passed away a little over a month ago. My dad is a Vietnam vet. He's an entrepreneur. He's an honest man. He's done a lot of good in his life. He's made mistakes like we all have, and he does not deserve what is happening to him vicariously through the system, even though he's passed on, and now it's harming the people who are still on this earth. And it's not his fault. It is the system. Okay, so this is why. Here's what has happened. My father passed away a little over a month ago. He lives in the state of Florida, but this is happening all over the United States, okay? But I do believe Florida is a hotbed for the death industry and for elderly abuse and for criminals to run rampant. They're not all narcissists. These are sociopaths, psychopaths, but a lot of narcissists too. Okay, so my dad's wife is still alive. They were both, and until he passed away, living in a condo in Florida. She still lives there. All of his children are in Colorado, including myself. My sister and I flew out when we heard my dad was on life support. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this as succinct as possible so that you can follow along, so that we can draw awareness so that this doesn't happen to you. If it has, we can together do something about it, okay? So stay with me. So he passed away. It's very, very sad, okay? And his wife, who's still living in the condo, is barely mobile. They both have insurance. They both have very good insurance. And it's taken us 2 months almost to find a provider through her insurance that will do 24-hour care in the condo. Now, my dad had cancer. He had a lot of other complications, and because of the dare I say a word that rhymes with schlamdemic, they started getting behind on some things because they were immobile. You couldn't leave the house. The housekeepers couldn't come in anymore, and nobody seemed to care about the elderly. So what this country has done is a massive campaign on elderly abuse. Okay? So no, they weren't in a nursing home, they weren't in assisted living, but they couldn't have gotten into a situation if they had wanted to. Why? Because the system is rigged. Because insurance companies make it almost impossible to navigate, and certainly for an elderly person who can barely see, can barely move. They say, oh, I'm going to send you the email and then the password and then the thing. And for an elderly person, they can't do all of that. So it becomes very overwhelming. So my dad was trying to take care of the two of them on his own, as he has cancer in his head, his body is riddled with infection. My stepmom, very sick, immobile, both trying to take care of themselves even though they have insurance. So they had somebody coming in that my dad was paying out of pocket because the insurance companies are of zero help. Now, the VA was helping my dad, but see, my stepmom's insurance is something different. So my dad was just trying to help my stepmom. It was a you-know-what show, okay? So things got a little disorganized. It got a little out of hand. It's hard for a healthy, young person to navigate this stuff. That's why it's elderly abuse, because an elderly person certainly can't handle it. Insurance doesn't care. They expect everybody to just get online, get on the mobile app, get on this. Not everybody, insurance companies, if you're listening and you work for an insurance company, not everybody can do the password and then the app and then the email and then the thing. Some people would like good old-fashioned customer service. So they send a list of 300 providers. None of them actually take the insurance. They say they do, but they don't. So since my dad has passed away, it's taken us almost 2 months now to find care for my stepmom, okay? I'm gonna really try not to be too spicy in this. I'm not mad at you unless you're the insurance company or Chase Bank, okay? So now my dad and stepmom had Chase Bank. Their names were both on the account, but my dad would always write the checks because my stepmom can barely move. She can't write, she can't figure checking out, like she can't see hardly, okay? She can hardly move, she can hardly lift her arms. So my dad was the one taking care of their mortgage, taking care of all the bills in their joint bank account that has both of their names on it, right? Okay, so you get the picture. So he's doing all that. Well, my dad falls, is rushed to the hospital. He's on life support, and as we know, he passed away. So now my sister and I have been trying to figure this stuff out. My sister is in Florida. She has an entire family here in Colorado, immediate family, grandchildren of her own, that she's not able to take care of because we're trying to help my stepmom, because we can't just leave her in a condo all by herself. So first we had to find 24-hour care, which she should have always had, but was almost impossible to navigate. Like I said, it's taken us 6 weeks to find a provider that would take care of it. My dad had to pay out of pocket for any care that they had, which is terrible when you're paying for insurance that's supposed to cover it, okay? With all of the technology, insurance companies should be able to figure out how to help their clients by now. I'm a solo entrepreneur. I help my clients all the time. Why can't these big corporations figure it out? Why? They can. They choose not to. They're stealing money. Your insurance is paying for almost nothing, is basically what it is. Your insurance is making them richer while you get sicker and poorer, and you're paying for nothing. Nothing. You're being paid for abuse. So now let's get over to the banking. Let's get over to Chase Bank. I'm calling out Chase Bank, but I don't really know that any banks are much better, and I have story upon story about why a lot of banks are terrible, but I'm going to talk about Chase. Okay, so Chase Bank, my sister is appointed as power of attorney and executor of the estate. My dad has that in his will, okay? So my sister goes to Chase Bank and says, we need to pull the money out of their joint account so that I can help write their checks to the mortgage company to pay these people that have been helping, that we've been paying out of pocket, and all of the things, right? They say, no, you can't pull it out of the account because you're not your dad. My sister says, he has marked me as power of attorney and executor of the estate. Here's his social security, here's his death certificate, here's everything that you need. They say, no, it doesn't matter because he's dead. What is the point of having a power of attorney and executor of the estate? They say, well, because his wife is living, she has to come into the bank. Okay, wonderful. Please note my sarcasm. It's not wonderful at all. The bank is only 4 blocks away, but it's very hard for my stepmom to move. Extremely hard. She's in a wheelchair. It's extremely excruciating for her to move, okay? And we still haven't covered 24-hour care, so we're paying out of pocket for anybody. Insurance still won't cover wheelchair visits with a car and all that, so we have to pay out of pocket for that. To go 4 blocks with the wheelchair with a service is $150. That adds up quickly, right? So my sister says, okay. She takes my stepmom to the bank. My stepmom can't get out of the car because it's very difficult for her to move. The bankers say, well, we can't go into the parking lot. It's our policy. It's our policy. High five, high five. Woo, woo, we're going to be rich. We're getting another deceased person's money. Oh, yeah. That's what they're probably feeling and thinking. Super excited, right? Another dead person that we can steal from. So she says, well, I'd like to see what's in the account so that I can help them pay their HOA and all this stuff. No, you can't do that. And if you take out the money out of the accounts and put it into another account, then the state of Florida will sue you. High five, narky narcs all around, sociopaths, psychopaths, we win, criminals win, right? Okay. Then she talks to another banker and she says, oh no, it's no problem. Since your stepmom is on the account, she can write the checks. So just write checks to all the bills and all the places that you have to pay, and you can use the money that way. That's exactly what they did. Then the checks didn't clear. We called Chase Bank. Why didn't the checks clear? The money's in there. At that point, that she was able to see at least what was in their checking account. Isn't that nice of Chase? They wouldn't let her see the other 2 accounts, though, because they had already stolen that money. So she says, why did those checks not clear? Oh, because we're not used to your stepmom writing checks. It's normally your dad, but he's dead. And she's like, right, but she's on the account, and you advised us to write those checks. Now we're really in trouble because now it's caused us a lot more time and problems because those checks didn't clear even though the money's in there. They say, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to bring her back into the bank. They won't release the money. They will not release the money, so they can't even pay their bills and their mortgage and the people that they're having to pay out of pocket because of the insurance, right? Okay, so now you get a little clear picture on that. It's a scam. You're telling me that the banks can't release it to the person on the bank account or the power of attorney. Then what is the point of having power of attorney? What is the point of having executor of the estate? If you're an attorney, if you're a lawyer, and you want to help out of the goodness of your heart, please do. My sister is stuck in Florida now. It's been almost 2 months. Because see, if we were to just leave our stepmom, which we would never do, but if we were to, like some people would, she could end up homeless. And then the state and the big business, big banks, they doubled it because see, then us taxpayers pay for that homeless person when that person actually had money to take care of their affairs, but they don't have access to it because the banks are stealing from them. Now, Let's go to the life insurance. We can't find my dad's life insurance policy. Like I said, he wasn't doing well. And we've been going through all of his files and different things. But the point is, are you telling me that criminals can figure out how to get somebody's life insurance and do that scam and do all these different things, but the life insurance companies cannot figure out how to contact next of kin and say, hey, we understand your father passed away, your mother passed away, whatever it is, your spouse, and here's the money that is owed to you. No, of course not, because they want that money back. They're hoping you never find it. There's a lot, I looked this up, you can look it up too. There's billions of dollars every year in the United States that goes back to life insurance companies because it's unclaimed by the beneficiaries. But we haven't figured out any technology to let those beneficiaries know. So sometimes those people end up homeless, even though they had money that they had their spouse pay into their entire life, but now that person has no money. And now we're paying for that person because they're turned over to the state or something. So what is the solution to this? First of all, I'm calling out Chase Bank. And if you want to support me in this, but you don't know what to say, just put in the comments, hey Chase, listen up. Because they won't listen. Now they want us to keep playing this cat and mouse. My sister has gone into the bank 6 times. She can't even leave Florida because we will not just leave my stepmom without care. Now we finally did find 24-hour care that her insurance covers, but it took us calling 300 different places that were listed on the insurance that actually don't take the insurance. So insurance companies, you need to clean up your lists. If there are 300 providers on there that actually don't do the service that you do, they need to not be on your list. If it's only one provider that does that service, you need to have one provider on that list. Customer service people, you have to have a way that people can just contact you old-fashioned style on the phone. Not everybody can do the app and the password and the email. This is elderly abuse. There has to be another way. We got around all of this stuff in the 80s. We didn't have apps and this and that. All of this technology can be wonderful. This is how I'm talking to you. I'm not anti-technology, but the technology should be working for us. It shouldn't hinder us, and it shouldn't be a way to abuse elderly people or people who can't use technology. My sister and I are very able-bodied, healthy, young people. You know, young by my standards anyway, okay? I know some people are like, Leah, you're an old lady, or some guy's gonna be like, hey, grandma, great, grandson, pipe down. Any doodle McNoodle, you should listen up, grandson, because if you want any of my money, you're not getting it. Especially not from these companies, right? So here's the solution. We need to have another way. Everything can't just be call 500 places and figure it out. No. The other thing is, one time my sister called the insurance company to have the ride, and they said, well, we're probably not going to do that. And she's like, what? You said that this is a service you do? She said, yeah, but we don't really have to. That's exactly how she talked to my sister. Then she said, I need somebody to come over to help my stepmom into her wheelchair, then to get into the car that's not paid for, that we're paying for out of our own pocket, and go to the doctor. This was on a doctor day, right? They said, oh, well, we might. What? Isn't this part of the service? This is what it says is included. Yeah, but we don't have to. What time do you need it? My sister said, anytime. She just needs to go to the doctor today. It was actually urgent care because she was getting sick. She said she just needs to go to urgent care. It needs to be sometime today. She said, well, we do our last ride at 5 o'clock. She said, anytime you can come pick us up would be lovely. So what do? I will come at 4:20. My sister says, fine. They send somebody to help who's pregnant, who's due next week. The pregnant lady says, I can't lift her, and nobody said you needed a driver. Okay, so then they send somebody else. My sister now is trying to do everything herself. Lift my stepmom, get her into the chair, get her out to the curb, get ready for the car to come pick up. Then the car, by the time she gets out to the curb, beep, beep, we're gone. You didn't come out fast enough. I'm asking for a call on humanity. In acting, we often say, all you have to offer a role is your humanity. What has happened to our humanity? Are we so duped into thinking that you can work your whole life and then be punished at the end and it's fine? Are we so duped into thinking that you must be doing something wrong when these insurance companies and banks are downright criminal? Why is it that the system is set up in the favor of criminals, but not in the favor of citizens? Another weird thing happened right after my dad had passed away. Some guy showed up at the doorstep and said, here's your dad's wallet. It was out on the street. My dad could barely walk. Why was his wallet a block away from the condo? So my sister called and filed a police report, to which the police laughed at her. And I love police, by the way. I know that there's good police. I am not anti-police, okay? That's another way the system is rigged, is to try to get rid of all the police so that the criminals really run the show. I'm not anti-police, but this particular officer was of no help. He said, oh, that's common. He said that's common in Florida. Common was his word. He said the ambulance, when they drove him to the hospital, the ambulance driver probably probably put his wallet on the roof of the ambulance, because why wouldn't you? Who cares that it's his ID and there's money and credit cards and everything in there? Who cares? He's an elderly person, right? He's probably going to die. Who cares? We're going to steal from him anyway. He said the ambulance driver probably put the wallet on the roof of the ambulance and drove off, and it just fell off, and that's why it was in the street. No big deal. No big deal. So when the guy returned it, of course, it had no cash in it, which my dad always had cash, even if it was $20. He preached it since I was a little kid. Always have cash on you, just in case. I bet he had more cash than that. It was stolen. And those credit cards were all flagged because someone did try to commit fraud. So my message to you is this. We need to serve notice on these banks and these insurance companies, these big businesses that say, oh, if you just work hard your whole life, it'll pay off. That's not true. There's an elderly abuse scam happening in this country in particular. And if we want to start solving the homeless problem and a lot of other problems in this world, we've got to start calling out these big banks and these big insurance companies. And life insurance companies should also figure out a way with technology on how to contact next of kin. Because that life insurance money that just goes back to the insurance company, that money that goes back to the bank, the money that is robbed from spouses and people, is downright elderly abuse. It's happening to people, young people too, but certainly to the elderly. So please, if you have any solutions, or if you have contact to the president, Mr. Biden, is there a way that you could set up the system so that it's not rigged against its own citizens? That would be absolutely lovely. As a small business owner during the schlamdemic, a lot of us had to take out business loans. Non-forgivable business loans, of course, because we're small businesses. Meanwhile, big businesses, and I know this for a fact, big businesses received forgivable loans. $100,000 here, $100,000 there, because of course we want those big banks and the big insurance companies to get richer so they can continue to scam us. So Mr. Biden, this message could be for you. Probably never see it because I'm just one of the little citizens who's actually doing good in the world and paying my taxes and following everything and doing it the just way, so I'm punished. But here's the thing, I know that you forgave a lot of student loans, or all the student loans, right? And God bless them, I love students. I love them. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me, and why, again, this system is rigged. A student coming out of college hasn't built anything yet. They were just getting their education, right? Especially if it was their bachelor's or whatever it is. So they haven't built anything yet. So while you're punishing small businesses like myself and forgiving them, they get out of school, great, they don't have any debt, but now no one's there to hire them, because a lot of businesses shuttered because they couldn't afford it, because they were punished. A great idea would be to forgive the small business loans to help stimulate the economy so that businesses could hire these students. But the system is absolutely rigged in the favor of criminals. Now, a lot of criminals are sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths. Why are we supporting them and not people who have been paying their taxes, doing the right thing, following the law? We need to change this. This is not okay. This is downright criminal. So my call to you is to just support this video, pass it on, so that maybe we can get their attention, because it's absolutely crooked that these big banks and these big life insurance companies and these big insurance companies are scamming the very citizens that have been paying into their service their entire life. Thank you.